Thunder Lightning weekly podcast.
Talking all things mediumship, spirit and paranormal.
Awaken with Thunder and Lightning. Reignite
the light
in your soul. Good evening, Roger. How have you been this week?
Good evening, Gavin. Me? I've been tip-top and tickety-boo. How about yourself?
Good. Always good, always good.
That's good to hear.
This week, I've sort of sprung it on you. You didn't know the topic. We thought we'd talk about starseeds.
Oh, right, okay. Interesting.
So starseeds. What would you say about starseeds to start with, Roger?
Starseeds, they have a higher connection and they can sometimes feel different. So everything, what's going off around them, they don't feel as if they belong here, I would say, because they feel a strong galactic connection.
Yeah, or a homely connection that's not here.
Yeah.
Lacking understanding to the Earth or humanity sometimes.
For a starseed, it can, the whole experience can be a little bit bewildering with emotions and experiences on this planet, because they're still thinking, well, why am I here? What's the purpose of this? I don't feel that I belong here. So for some who haven't woke up, it can feel a little bewildering.
The talking waking up, some might feel absolutely normal until the point they start waking up as well. It's very much different for different people.
Yeah.
So you could be like a sleeper cell, so to speak, and then at the point you start awakening, that's where the thoughts and the comparison to others can really hit. You can be kind of lost. Everyone's got a different path as well. I would say with starseeds, so my belief, you've already ascended. You kind of volunteered to come back for a greater good.
Yes, you've volunteered to come back for a purpose, for a soul mission, which can be for the benefit of mankind.
Yeah, for the Earth, for mankind, but not always are you going to get the answer of I'm here and this is my purpose. It's kind of going with the flow.
It's
not always completely identified. But often with starseeds, they want to help others. One of the biggest things within them is they like helping others.
That's very true.
With what I do, I come across them often. One of the biggest things I would say with starseeds, Roger, they can often be kind of put down. They might go for other readings and people will be telling them they've got to ground more or be put off from developing. You see, if you're thinking of things as positive and negative, if there are negative things there, which that creates balance, they're not going to want these starseeds to develop, especially if there's a greater purpose. So one of the biggest things is they either can't be read and then they're left to feel very much down or what's wrong with me, or they're told to ground more, which often when they're told to ground more, that can be not intentional. It could be that the reader has got a lower vibration than the starseed, even though the starseed hasn't fully developed. So their vibration is a lot higher than that the person that's trying to read them. So they would sense that as you've got to ground more, you're up with the fairies, so to speak, when that may not be the case.
Yes, I agree with that. I wonder how many starseeds there are out there who don't actually realise they are one. I should imagine there's a few.
Not a question that I've thought of. I would have said it's got to be 2/3. I think it would have been even greater than that, and probably 3/4, if not only 10-15% knew that they were one until the lockdown had happened, and I'd have said a lot more of them have woken up or been awakened.
Yes, because they've had time to pause and reflect, because the whole humanity virtually shut down, didn't we?
And when one more realises, typically they know another. They generally come together whether they realise it or not. So if you can find one, they will know another or another two. They're kind of magnetic towards each other. But it can definitely bring challenges. You would have to face fears of negative energies. before you can progress.
I would say yes, that's very true. I would also say that your starseeds will have unique challenges to overcome because they feel things on such a deep connection with everything they do. It may feel very bewildering and frightening at times.
Can do as well, as because once they start opening up, negative things or presences are likely to try and show themselves to that starseed, so that their fear will keep them from developing or opening up further.
Yeah, I can certainly relate to that.
And it doesn't mean once you start or get to know that you are a starseed that it becomes any clearer on what the path is.
No, that's very true. It's still a work in progress. Let's put it
And
that
it's not
way.
the same for all.
We know we've got a higher connection.
And that's it. So anyone that's listening that thinks, well, some of that fits with me, I would say if you're going to go and get a reading, find out first, do they do starseed readings? If it's not mentioned, and I'd say try and find someone else. Because it can be hard to be read, like I'd already said. If your vibration's higher than the reader, they're going to give you the advice of coming back, being grounded, lowering your vibration in order to not be sort of scatterbrained. It doesn't mean you're scatterbrained or anything else like that. It's just your vibration is a lot higher. You've already got a light around you, even though you've not developed and knowing how to necessarily use it. But you'll probably find that during life you've been one that's attracted friends and things. Whenever they need advice, they're coming towards you, and you can quite capable of giving that advice, quite capable of helping others, and just not realised it. You'd have a good connection with your intuition. You'd know when things were going to happen, and by whether that's from dreams or just knowing, you'd always had a connection with your guides.
Starseeds tend to feel overwhelmed in places where there's a lot of people around. So in crowds, they can pick up that much energy and feelings off everybody that they can feel overwhelmed.
Yes, they would normally have the empathic side built into them as well.
Yes, so they have very highly sensitive to energies. And you'll find that most starseeds will prefer one-to-one conversation.
I would agree with that, but they'd also probably be the ones that, although they don't want to be a leader necessarily, at times of panic, in whatever form that show up, they'd be quite capable of stepping forward into like the leadership role, lead others out of trouble or panic, so to speak.
Yeah, well, part of the Starseed's journey is to understand and where their place is in the universe.
Yes. And probably go through life looking for something that they don't know what they're looking for. Could go through relationships, they could go through a lot of changing jobs. They know there's something missing, they just don't know quite what that something is.
Yeah. Yes, that's very true.
But definitely not all would have the same role to do.
So are there different types of starseed?
I would say yes, but I've not really looked into types or trying to break them down.
Would you say starseeds are empaths?
Yes, I would. I would also say that they are mediums, but it doesn't mean, although they'd have an ability to tune in to loved one energies, that may not be totally their path. It could be to communicate with the higher energies, bringing messages through of guidance for all mankind. It could be for something that we're unaware of yet. So if there's some sorts of disclosure still to come, that can bring fear to the whole of the earth, the people on the earth. So it could be that there's a lot of starseeds sitting there waiting to try and put people's minds at ease, getting them to look at things in a different perspective.
Yeah. I would also say that starseeds feel a connection with everything. So they feel a connection with people, the earth, crystals,
nature.
plants, animals, nature. They feel a fantastic connection with their environment and everything around them.
I would very much say they would have a connection with animals, typically. And it doesn't mean necessarily, because we're saying star seeds and, you know, stars are up there, it doesn't mean you've got a great connection, always been fascinated with what's up there above us, or science fiction, for instance. Yes, it can be for a lot of people, but it doesn't mean everyone is like that, which is a question that I have been asked more than once.
Would you say a good imagination helps, though?
It would be something, if they were going and following it forward, that would have to be unlocked if they didn't already have a good imagination.
Yeah.
I would also say another terminology, you might be told you're a crystal child. That could be another word used for starseeds. There are different level of starseeds as well. It's not all tarnishing with the same brush. Everyone's different. As I've already said, there's different reasons, etc., that people would come down. And kind of volunteer to come down.
Well, we're all individuals. We all have our own path in life.
Yet you may also find that there's a strong connection to certain individuals where you can come together and find one another, and might realise that actually you'd come down with a common agenda of coming down and perhaps even meeting up. So you've got kind of subconscious memories of something that you've come from, and others will have come from there as well. But that's going more into once you're acknowledged that you're a starseed. But technically the word starseed, that's not come from spirit or the universe. That's a word that's been coined down here for this type of energies. So
would you say exactly the same for an indigo child?
Crystal child, indigo child, starseed, they're all terms for higher energied or individuals or spirits or kind of ascended souls that would have come here for a purpose. So technically there is an overlap there of those words. So if you've been called an indigo child, you've been called a crystal child, called a starseed, that could well be correct. And my partner Marie, she'd been given the next generation more that would be coming down, which we're starting to see now with some younger children, is they could be allergic to a lot of things. They are not got an interest in electronics. They're wanting to be outside. They're wanting to be free. They're kind of independent spirits. I don't know what term has been put to that. I'm not sure there has been a term totally put to it yet, but that's like the next wave. So some of you listening may have children that are like that. They're not too keen on the technology. They are sensitive. So they're trying to bring some balance back to Earth, to try and get rid of some chemicals, etc. So it's something that keeps happening. And it's there for a purpose. It's to try and get everyone to ascend. So they may be ascended themselves, but if they can push a message to others or get others listening, it can ascend the whole of humanity.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
But I know I can help anyone that is in that situation. If you're wanting to, you're more than welcome to contact me. I can do starseed readings. My guides can step forward as well and talk. Generally, actually, with starseeds, if I'm reading for them, my guides do step forward and take over the reading. So it can be like they'd come through in trance to give some guidance, which is then far more specific. And like I said, not all the starseeds are the same, so it is unique advice that's going to each of them. Could be a healing path, could be a communicative path. So it could be to bring out messages from loved ones. Could be for connections, for bringing messages from ascended masters and higher energies. Could be being an author. Could be a film producer. So that's where the imagination could step in. You might be channeling without you even realising, in order to bring forward information, opening people's eyes a little bit more.
Could be a musician.
Yep.
Because they've got a large target audience.
Yep.
And
very much so.
Songwriting, and there's meaning to those lyrics which they're wanting people to listen to and resonate with. I would say that when the starseeds first are aware, it's not an easy path. to come on, but the more accepting they are of that particular path and who they are in the scheme of things, the better it becomes, the easier it becomes, because you accept who
you're likely to get people leaving your life, and that could be family, but you'll get others coming into your life.
That is very true.
I have got a question for you, Roger.
Go on.
Which Ascended Masters would you recommend to connect with to help Starseeds? So this would be then going to those Starseeds that are aware they're Starseeds and just don't really know where they're going or are a little bit lost.
I would say connect with any of the Ascended Masters who they feel a connection with, because they'll all help with the higher energies in the path. I wouldn't say it's necessarily just one.
I agree there.
I would say that any of them will be more than willing to help a Starseed or somebody waking up to discover the Bridge of Light.
So if someone didn't have a clue about Starseeds, didn't really know them, what ones would you suggest they look at and see which ones they're drawn to? So like I'd probably suggest Commander Ashtar, because he can make you walk your talk, try and push you in a direction that can aid you finding out more. And
right, there's two who've come forward. One's Cthulhu and the other one's El Moya.
Okay.
El Moya came first there, and I thought, well, yeah.
If you wanted two from me, I would say Diana, Commander Ashtar.
But you could ask Lady Nada, you could ask Lady Nada, Lady Portia, Saint Germain.
Yeah.
Some people have a very strong connection with Saint Germain. There's Serapis Bay. There's Hilarion.
There are many.
There are many. Merlin.
But what I will say, a lot of people would say to me, who's my guide? Who do I need to connect to? Sometimes that's irrelevant, knowing who you're connecting to. Knowing that you've got the connection and that you're getting information and you're passing it on, trust that. At a later date, it'll become apparent who you're connecting to. It's really not essential to know who you're connecting to. It's essential to know that you've got the communication coming to you. So anyone that is developing, one of the biggest things they say is, who's my guide? It can really hold people back, stop them progressing. For ages, I didn't know who my guides were, but accepted that what I was getting, I trusted. So trust what you're getting. They could have, if it is a guide, they could have had 10, 15, 20, 100 lives. Okay? Their name's not important. The fact that you're getting communication from them is important. And I'd say the same goes with the Ascended Masters. You can connect to the Ascended Masters with intention, because they'll work with anyone. So if you did pick up a name and thought, oh, I quite fancy talking to them, go ahead and do it. But don't hang on to, I need to know who this is that's giving me this information. Just be aware that you've got this information coming. If it's something that's not meant to be communicating with you, in your heart, you'll know, cut off that communication.
Yes.
Starseeds and crystals.
Okay. Yeah. Starseeds.
I'd start with, which is anyone that's developing. Amethyst would help.
That's the stone you beat me to it there. I would say that crystal. I'd also look at using blue kyanite.
So like maybe I've just had K2 dropped to me as well.
It's interesting. One of the first stones I ever worked with was moldavite.
I would say moldavite, but it is a life changer.
It's like using TNT, isn't it? It's a very, very powerful high energy stone. Is moldavite.
Yes, and there's others that you can work with alongside that, which I'm not going to shout out at the moment. If everyone's rushed off to try and get them, you're likely to have a problem unless you're ready to face that problem and jump in at the deep end. So you'd better just going with the crystals that you're actually drawn to. But one of the biggest things, like we said at the start, can be fear. So if you had got fear, I'd always recommend Numite. Protects your higher chakras, looks after you. It's still a darker coloured stone, What crystal? I love it.
Yeah, it acts as an anchor, that stone, doesn't it?
Yes, but not too grounding, so it keeps you safe, but at a higher level. Auralite be another that's been shouted out at me.
Yes, that's well, Auralite 23's got 23 different properties in it, so it's
Up to 23, yeah.
So it's a massive combined stone energy, crystal energy, should I say, with that.
I will say it doesn't mean it's necessarily got all 23 in it.
No, that's true. What about Super 7 then?
Yeah, Super 7 has to have all the 7 in it, and Auralite 23 is up to the 23. So the Super 7 has to have the 7 in it. Okay, it's not Super 7 without the 7.
I suppose you could, for a grounding crystal, you could use obsidian.
You could. Not my favourite.
Well, I've always been drawn to like snowflake obsidian or spiderweb obsidian, which has a slightly different property to black obsidian because of the other elements within.
Yeah, I'll just double check there. The Auralite doesn't guarantee to have all 23 in it. But do be aware, Auralite 23 and Super 7 are very similar in the way they look. The only way to tell is really to purchase off a trusted seller. You could ask where the Auralite 23 is from, as it only comes from...
I knew you can ask that one, and
Canada.
You've
Canada.
got me. That's this week's.
So, an Auralite 23 has inclusions along the amethyst matrix.
Is it just one place where it's mined from?
Pass on that one, but I know it only comes from Canada. But normally amethyst is the main component, but with Super 7, the minerals are more blended. And that also only comes from one place. And I do know which mine that is. That's the Melody mine. And the Melody mine is in...
Is that in Canada as well?
That's South America. And to my knowledge, I don't believe that they're producing or mining Super 7 any longer. So just check carefully where it's from if you're going looking for Super 7. But that's just only a few sort of crystals that we touched on, like the Ascended Masters. We've sort of touched on a few there.
Another good one to start with is probably selenite.
Yes. Oh, I remember the first time coming across selenite. It was like, whoa, the feeling from it, the light from it, blinded by the light. It was gorgeous. And that can recharge other crystals, cleanse yourself, cleanse others. Very, very powerful crystal.
Hasn't amethyst got the same some of the same properties, i.e. it can clean other crystals?
If it does, I've not used it in that way. I know that amethyst, you do need to cleanse amethyst depending on what it's been around. Well, the crystal selenite, you wouldn't need to cleanse selenite. That's cleansing in its own right. So yes, amethyst may be able to charge other crystals, but you would need to still sometimes cleanse amethyst. So I would say there's a difference between charging and then cleansing there. Yeah, amethyst, Roger, I would say it can definitely charge other crystals, but I would say it is one that needs cleansing as well.
That's a good point.
Citrine.
I would actually think about cleansing amethyst in moonlight, not sunlight.
I would say moonlight and sunlight. To give them the full balance.
Just don't leave it out in the sun too long.
Can fade.
it will fade.
Citrine would probably be even better for charging others, would you have said?
Yep, that's a good stone. Really positive. It's got very strong positive energy. It's what I would call a sunshine stone.
Which can transmute to others to charge other crystals.
Yes.
But you can also cleanse your amethyst with what we've just been talking about. Selenite.
Well, with the amethyst I've got here, there's always selenite in the proximity anyway. So I use a combination of the two.
I've got my guides saying to me, Roger, I know that you can do light language as well. Light language is very, very good for starseeds. Light language, it's a universal language that we don't understand. It drops into our subconscious. So it can provide messages. It goes down deep, goes deep within. Can create ringing in the ears. And normally after hearing it, it can leave all around you feeling positively charged, pure, peaceful. And I know Roger can do light language as well as me. So I thought there's no time like the present to put a bit of light language into Thunder and Lightning.
Okay.
And I've just dropped this right on Roger without him realising. Which I will also say thank you to Marie because she came up with the idea for me. The light language, as I just said, puts a message into the subconscious. The intention that I'm going to push out there, which I'm asking Roger to push out there as well, is a message to those starseeds that either know or don't know, but about them, helping them develop. And I will just say before we do that, developing light language, it's not something that I expected to be able to ever do. It came to me when I was doing healing, and I just had the overwhelming urge to start making sounds. And as I did it, it made me feel good. And I'd listened to light language before, and I was always drawn to certain types of light language, certain sounds in light language. And from there, it just came more and more. It did make me feel like a prize pillock to start with, because I didn't know what was being sounded. It sounded like a load of gobbledygook. But then when other people heard it, their reaction from it, I knew there was something good coming from it. So just did it more and more. Now I feel comfortable doing it. It doesn't faze me. But yeah, initially when people are starting to develop it, it kind of just comes. You're drawn to sort of doing it, but then you kind of hold on to not doing it because you do feel a bit like a prize pillock. Would that make sense to you, Roger?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it certainly does. I used to start off especially when Gavin was doing light language, I'd have my microphone off and I'd be answering him.
Yes, sometimes I know what's being said and other times I don't. Sometimes I can understand it when other people speak it, other times I don't. But every single time I actually understand it because it goes into my subconscious. It gives a tingle, it gives a warmth. It just aids. So let me tune in. Engo energy one but the yakade agombo the heart was yankitiakos at Nobozakatika. Engo somebody ala John Badaktian but was a girl was a gombozakatiakus ambreakadjuke. Engo the under years who goes zakandiakopozakatika, use the ambazakuza. Hella lezuemzeka and the ambazak to at the end the coach was the kian do zetika. Engo dambly but yak too.
Yeah, I'm not talking about me.
Ingozandia goes a Tanzania, Kazumaka, and the letters again the Yogos, and Muzaka Dutka. Englala Luzaka, the Mutikatikatu, and the Katumadak to Wanti Cambodia, but the ticket to Zak and the ticket to Katatu, take some ticket to Zatka. Oh, amazing.
That shaman.
Henga ajak tambatakia tuzi am takituzi kitamala jukaka.
Oh, that is me. Oh,
Hengo papa jambatika anzu atsak mudu ambate hak to kazuka.
hey, oh, mana, mana, me, mana, mana.
Hengo
Oh, mana, mana, oh, I was really, oh,
Hengalazuka.
yeah, mana, tada, manichi, yata.
Engo papa patia cara pupuja glada baga de lelo do matika do já fa papa que cagamos já que la mata que uma patia que pupuja que tem uma cica que tu usa que usa que zo usa que usa que cá enga tá la usa que mutika ka que um dia que do usa que zo que usa que cá enga já bru a canta ya zo que tá cá enga sabe que usa que tá cá enga sabe que usa que tá já andi a ka do andi a ko do da que ya que to cá
Oh, mana.
Hengadagan de goes again, Hangasagum, Dagger Zogan, Unsigo, Hengadaga do the again, the goes again, the Gogazago, Hengadaga do that again, the go, Hengadaga goes Amadeo, Roger.
Namate, oh, oh, yeah, man, oh. Oh, oh, mana, hey. Oh, na, hey, hey. Amanana, hey, manana, hey, oh, mana. Mana, hey. Oh.
And whether you're a starseed or not, here's a message for all. He's on to get the gumbo kaka, company kaka. He's on got the Kazu and the Kazu as a yego. Hang at Dandu, he can let the Luzik and Buzu gets the Majo kaka. Hang Papa Buzi, Amadazu can the lady Luz and Tuka. He gets a cat to the game Buzi and got to put a Kapu 10 days you can let us kaka. Hang at to that and like a cocos and Budu, I can and a little Luz and get a little Luz again to Zuka. He got to do I can ask you a Kizanga to a cattico. I got to Kabudu, I can take a lo chingamba tiketiko hengo la chakirian joke kang joke katakaka hengo sango duego yego yandia go takane atu yego hengo basakanda kuzakatia yego in like chuko hengo sambatia o la zambati yego and basako rakachuka hengo sakambadu yego zakatia and zakando zakado the kenny go henga badu zakandi yago go has with Zangbo.
Mana, 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 oh, oh,
Yang ketika jiwa kanat tiga toto kanat siket kedua laka. Heng ketap kedua zakat tikan teko taka. Yang ketiga wan teko lele tokat teko. Yang tiki yang teket toto tikam pedio. Yang tikan lala tukam berdaya kedia kedo. Yang tiki jawan teko lala tiki yang berdua. Yang ketua tiket toto teko lelu. Yang tiki yang berdua kanat yang cukup. Yang tadi cukup yang tiki lala cuek kedo. Yang ketiga yang tua tiga tua. Tigato, ham particular tigato, who ain't you yet to tend to lot tigato, you want to go let the car and drag it to the tar. He ain't to see you want to go lake you want the car.
Oh, yaka, yeah, man,
I hope that helps you all. You see, you will have noticed there would have been different sounds that were coming through, etc. That's, although someone may be able to understand all, others will be drawn to a certain type of it more than other. Okay, I do believe it depends on what part. It's like a universal language, but it depends on what part of the universe, I guess, originated from. So it can mean an awful lot more to some on some of the sounds than it can on other of the sounds. I do find that myself. If I listen to others' light language, I'll be far more drawn to a certain area of the light language than I will others. Personally, I'm drawn to, I can't do it now because I've stepped back, but the curtain noises very much resonates with me, as well as the noises. I don't know about Roger, when you listen to it at all, what are you drawn to all of it, or some of it more than others?
Some of it more than others, particularly if it's rhythmical. And I've always been drawn to clicking sounds.
I'm fascinated by the clicking sounds, as there are tribes still left on the earth that still communicate with the clicking sounds. It is funny, with supporters, we do get others that join in with the light language sounds as well. It's becoming more widely spoken by many within the groups that I run anyway, and they just get drawn to speak out and join in. It's fascinating.
Give it a try.
I was going to say, it's all peaceful. Everything's peaceful now by me. It's a gorgeous vibration. But it can be used in so many ways. It can be for communication. It can be for healing. I often get the angels that will come in with their tones as well as the light language on healing. It's just the more methods they've got to do something from the spirit world and the universal energies, it can benefit more. Yeah, at the end there, Jacka did come through. He was kind of called by the couple that are watching us record this. Had mentioned him, and the next minute he was by my side. So we were blessed with Jacka's company there. Jacka's one of my guides to higher energies. He's often got a link to raised vibrations, or used to, but now it can come more at a click of a fingers, the angelic realms. But everyone loves Jacka. He makes me look even more of a prize pillar because he likes to dance while he's doing the light language.
Yes,
I will say what. Oh, sorry, go on, Roger.
I was just going to say you'll be able to differentiate between the different energies which are brought in.
Yeah, when you start light language, I just said you've probably got one guide that comes close in order to start giving the light language. The more you do it, you're likely to get 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm unaware of how many different guides. I'm aware of the changes of energy, but I'm unaware of how many guides now come through to speak the different light languages, which they can come in with messages from far and wide. which can help many. What I was going to say there, I know that we've been speaking about starseeds, but really anyone that's developing, anyone at all, could feel that uneasiness, not fitting in. Because if you think about it, even with mediumship, for instance, and even being a psychic, it's not the norm. So it can very much put you in an uncomfortable spot, especially if you know you're different like that. How do you begin to start telling others? And there will come a time where it's kind of, especially if you move it forward and you start working in that area, there's going to be a time where it comes that all those that know you are going to be aware that that's what you're doing. And you will get people that leave your life. Some will think it's a load of rubbish. Others just don't want to be associated or whatever. As soon as they do, others start coming into your life. But really, it is having to step back your own discomfort and just trusting spirit. Literally trusting spirit that what they're bringing through is a greater good. But it can be hard to do that.
Well, that's what I liked about joining your supporters, Gavin, was that there were so many like-minded people.
I would say we're fortunate in the supporters. There's got to be at least 80% at Starseeds.
Yes.
Very much not all on the same path.
No, we've all got different paths to go down in life. We're all unique.
I think after the light language is probably a good time to actually just bring through one of my guides with regard to Starseeds. I will give them the choice of who comes through. I'm pretty sure I know which one is going to come through, which I believe will be John, but that could surprise me. Good evening, everyone. It is John. Hello, Roger.
Good evening.
Hello,
John.
those that are watching the recording. Hello, those that are listening back to Thunder Lightning and the podcast. I send love to you all, whether you are Starseed, whether you are developing, or whether you just have an interest in spirituality or the paranormal. Love to you all. With regard to Starseed, the medium was right. It is a term coined by you on Earth. It makes not a lot of difference whether it is known as indigo child, crystal child, or Starseed. All would have similar feelings, even if slightly different energies, with regard to not making full sense of the energies down here. You may even find you can communicate with the spirit world, but something feels a little off. This can happen quite often, and it is because you have ascended past this point from where you have originated. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but sometimes it could feel you have a bit more higher knowledge than others guides that are communicating through you. But remember, this is what remembering, you can only repeat what you're given to repeat. So it does not matter if you understand it or accept it totally. It is those that are receiving the message. But at any time during the life, you may have always felt slightly different. Like it's been said, it could be something that develops later in life that you start to feel different. It can be very hard. You can be brought up with a lot of beliefs that have been pushed onto you from society as well as loved ones. And it can be that you have to step back from these beliefs and be more open-minded in order to accept and in order to receive the messages from above, to kind of reconnect to the purpose for what it involves for you. Everyone is different. Roger is right. There is a unique path for all. So imagine you are getting this connection later in life. You have gone through life, you are traveling up a highway, yes, and there's been others around you. At some point on awakening, often people not realize they are on a unique path. So you have to stem off, make your own route. It may not be tarmac, it could be through fields, thistles, woods, but you make your own path. At that point, some that have shared your journey with you already Well, step back. You are almost walking alone, but you will not walk alone for very long. Other people may be sharing a spur of that journey with you that you have moved off, creating your own. So people can be by your side, but you're seeking out the company of like-minded individuals who keep you feeling sane, not feeling you are going mad. And yes, again, your path could turn and you go off in a different direction, join a different highway, where you can not preach to others, but others can approach you for information. And those that approach, you can give your information that you have received from higher knowledge, higher wisdom, higher vibrations to those to help them. Some will take it, some will not. It does not matter if they do not. Something else may click later on whether they can take this information. But remember, each one that take the information, you may be talking to 10. They may be speaking and passing it on to others that you are unaware of. So your message go far deeper than you would first think. So often we hear people saying, but what good is my advice? I only speak to 3 or 4. That 3 or 4 could mean you have passed a message on to 30 or 40. And then if they are talking to a few more each, that's before you know it is 90. That 90, talk to 2 each, you're at 180. Even if they only pass it on once more, you have doubled the 180 to 360. At 360, they pass it on to 3. Yes, you're now at 1080. Yes, Roger, you can check my maths if you wish. That is just showing how far the communication can go. But the way you can feel alone once you start to wake up, thinking I cannot talk to the husband, the wife, her friends, seek out the like-minded company of others. He can help you. And it's already been said, not all mediums will be able to read or provide information for Starseed. So you need to find out who. Just start researching more. And it will start to embed in you, make a sense to some extent. But it can be very hard to accept it fully. You really do have to be open-minded. And I would say brave and courage comes into it. There will be some fear, but fear, you have no courage without fear. So follow that courage. Seek out those like-minded individuals that can help you on your own journey. Not ones that rule your journey, but they can provide guidance for you to continue on your journey yourself. If I personally, as a guide, can be of use to any of you listening, contact my medium. I'm happy to talk in trance to any of you that think you are Starseed or that are struggling to develop. So this is John. I send love to each and every one of you and your families. Good night, Roger. Good night, all.
Good night, John. Thank you. You obviously don't want to tell a joke this week, then.
I just said it was probably not the time for a joke with him. I think that's 2 weeks on the trot. He's not told a joke. I think I'm grateful for that, though, with his what's red and bad for your teeth.
See, it makes me chuckle even just thinking about it.
So
I would say that a Starseed connection is a wonderful, positive connection. Once you've realised that you've come back to Earth for a purpose, so you've been here before.
That's very interesting. You've just mentioned that, because I was just about to mention that when I've regressed, so past life regressions. Lots of people with past life regressions, when they do it, most people have regressed them to their last life on Earth, which then can miss out a big chunk. So if you can regress them to their last energy, so their kind of last life, the last energy, when they were doing something separate, where they've come from, regressing to where they've come from to be back in this life. There's a common denominator, a commonality. So when I've regressed Starseeds, they typically go back the same route, even if they're from a slightly different area of their last life, but not necessarily on Earth. And they all describe the same things, and none of them have listened to each other's regression. But the regressions are the same. The way they've come to the Earth, where they've originated before getting into the womb. And Roger is one of them that I have regressed to his last energy.
Yes, that's true.
And I would say, how useful was that then in understanding where you'd come from?
It helped me tremendously with the regression, because it helped me realize that where I had come from, and that I've come back with a purpose in mind. And sometimes that kind of affirmation, confirmation for oneself, me in particular, was just what I needed at that point in time to understand.
I would also say that it didn't mean that you felt any more normal at that point. You were feeling even more crackers probably until I shared with you other people had that similar experience, and then you could actually take it fully on board.
Yes, I did
and
feel
comparing with others.
That's right, and that's one reason why I was trying to say a little earlier about finding like-minded people here.
Yeah.
Once we did that, and it became so obvious for myself where I'd come from, I thought, well, I'm not going crackers, I'm not going crazy. This isn't an insane notion. And then talking to others and listening to others, and they've got similar experiences, it was like, wow, yes, fantastic.
Something very important actually there that I haven't mentioned. Starseeds, if you're getting information from the higher energies, sometimes they can't give you it all. So you'll end up with maybe 80% of the information. And the other 20% you kind of sort of need as well. They're likely to send the other 20% where someone else has received 80% of the information, but you've got 20% of that bit that they don't know, and they've got 20% of the bit you don't know. So being able to know others, you can get to all of that information. I don't know whether that's safety, that the information doesn't come down like that, so it doesn't get in the wrong hands or energies, but that's typically the way that works. You don't get all of it. But also, sometimes the information you get can be kind of way out there, and you're like, oh, really, it is. But you'll then find out others have had that as well, and it's so similar. You're like, well, I know I'm not going mad now. This is what I've received. So that can help build up the trust initially, having those like-minded people around you.
Most definitely.
And I said more than that, you can make lifelong friends. Or even friends that you've had previously before you come back.
Yes, that's good. Yes, that's true.
And others to bounce ideas off of. It's amazing.
Well, 2 years ago, I would not have spoken to many people about the things which go off in my head about the universe and angels and whatnot, because I used to think, well, they'll think I'm absolutely barking mad.
It's like the things that maybe we need to do with energies, and it can take more than one person that does something with energies, and especially if it's for a higher good and like for the earth rather than for individuals, and do something. It's almost like in a meditative state. You come back, talk about it, because there's maybe 4 of you that went into the meditative state at the same time. You come back and all of you have got the same things that you saw and did. And you're like, wow, I'm not potty. Just amazing.
It's a fantastic journey to be on, and having such wonderful connections with dear friends, it's amazing.
It truly is. So if anyone's out there feeling completely lost, you know you fit into the category, you're more than welcome to reach out. If you're going to reach out, it doesn't necessarily need to be us. Just make sure it's someone that's got a link with Starseeds. And if you're unsure, follow your heart. Your heart will lead you in the right direction. It really will.
You know, if you've got information which is telling you that you've originated from a different part of the universe and you're being brought back for a purpose, just listen to what you're being told. Trust and believe in it, and talk to a psychic medium like Gavin, and he'll be able to help you understand and gain more trust and belief in what you're being told.
Some people may have spoken to 3 or 4 mediums, and there's like an overlap, and it's like something doesn't quite make sense. It doesn't mean what you've been told by any one of them is incorrect. It's just like there's an overlap, something missing that will make it make sense to you. So, yeah. And write everything down. Any of you, write everything down and draw any symbols that you see. It will make sense. It could be years later that it'll make sense.
Symbols, pictures, colours, sensations. Write them all down. There was something that happened to me 10 years ago, which I wrote down. And I was looking at it the other day, and it actually means more now than when I first wrote it.
It's the key for the next bit. But you know, the symbols, and then when you do get like-minded starseed, so to speak, you'll have all seen the same sort of symbols. Fascinating.
Yep, you're not on your own. Just trust and believe, and come and join us.
Yeah.
Join Gavin and his supporters.
Listen to the heart. If you are alone, confused by sometimes what you've received, our spirits drop your song title. They may be able to explain it in the lyrics. That's the other one to write down is numbers. Likewise, that can make sense at a later date. But hopefully we've managed to help a few from this podcast.
I hope it has. You're thinking about running the Starseed Workshop?
I am thinking of running a Starseed Workshop. That is right, Roger. There's nothing in the diary as yet. But that is something I really want to do. The other that I wanted to do is run an empath kind of workshop to help people deal with the energies, being an empath, to try and look after their own energy, try and understand it a bit better. But what I have got in the diary at the minute is anyone from Northampton or the Northamptonshire area. I have got a platform event, an evening of mediumship, and that's at Grendon Lakes on the 17th of November. It's £15 a ticket. You'll see that on my website, which is www.psychicgavin.online/events, and you'll see it there where you can purchase tickets, and it'd be lovely to see some faces there. Anyone that's after developing, I do have the Wednesday night that I do a development circle, Tuesday nights that I do a practice circle for people to practice their abilities, and just always watch the space. I will be in the new year doing other development workshops and intense courses to help others develop their skills and help you on your journey. Whether I'm doing the courses or not, you can always reach out to me and I'll help with anyone.
Plus, you've also got YouTube for all your meditations
and podcasts for all my meditations. If you've got Alexa, just ask Psychic Gavin podcast. And you can listen to all of those.
Excellent.
And lastly, if it is something you're interested in, I know Roger had mentioned supporters. That's just through Facebook. Go to Psychic Gavin, which is my page. And at the top there, you'll see the ability to join as a supporter, benefit from all the extra lives, and that's $9.49 a month. So this is Thunder and Lightning, where you can awaken with Thunder and Lightning.
Reignite the light in your soul.
Where we're always talking about things, mediumship, spirit.
And paranormal.
More.
Oh.
So it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a good night from him.
Here is Roger. Good night all. Lots of love.
All right.